Hello everyone. I hope you all are doing fine and are taking care of yourselves. My name is Kanika Tandon and I am back with the videos of Class 6 English First. As your half-yearly examinations are over, we have resumed the online classes and the YouTube videos for all of the classes. So let us start our second term's syllabus, that is chapter number 11, the verb. Starting our today's video with understanding the meaning of the name of the chapter, which is the verb. So verb is any word that denotes some action or an activity that is about to take place or is happening in the sentence. For example, the man saw a tiger, the girl opened the window, Alice made a doll. So in these sentences, these saw, opened, made, these are the things that are being done in the sentence, right? If there is a sentence like I am teaching you in the class, so in this sentence the thing that is happening is that I am teaching in the class. So the word teaching is the verb. Understood? Similarly, if we take some other example, that is you are studying in the class. So what are you doing in the class? You are actually studying. So the word studying acts as an verb. In a simple language, we can say in a sentence, whenever some action or something is happening, that word is called verb. In these sentences, the verbs saw, opened, made alone do not make complete sense. Something must be added to each to make complete sense. Alright, so exactly. So there are objects too in the sentence. Whenever we are making a sentence with a verb in it, we need an object too, because without an object it is a little tough to understand what is happening in the sentence. For example, what did the man see? The man saw a tiger, right? So here a tiger is the object, because of that tiger the thing is actually happening. If the man has seen a tiger, there must be a tiger in front of him. If there wouldn't been any tiger in front of his eyes, he wouldn't have seen that tiger. Alright, so object is actually very necessary whenever we are writing a sentence, but sometimes it is not necessary that there will be an object in the sentence, and those sentences are known as intransitive sentences, or the verb is known as intransitive verb. We'll study it a little later. Coming on to the next one, useful tips. We can make one word sentence with a verb. Alright, so there are some words that can be used as sentences also. Coming on to the next page, which is classification of the verbs. Okay, so here verbs are divided into two parts. First is the main verb and another one is the auxiliary verb. So the basic two parts of the verbs is main and auxiliary, but main verb and auxiliary verbs are further divided into some parts. Let us study about them. So the main verb is divided into two more parts, that is transitive and intransitive. Intransitive verb is the verb that I just told you about. We'll study about it in details too. Next is auxiliary verbs. So auxiliary verbs are also divided into two parts. Those are primary auxiliary verbs and modal auxiliary verbs. Alright, we are going to study about them too. Now always remember, verbs that have to before them are known as infinitives. They are non-finite verbs, as you have to finish your food. Next is there are two classes of verbs in English. First is main verbs and another one is auxiliary verbs that we have actually that we are going to study. Okay, so first let us talk about what are main verbs. There were only two types of verbs. There were two types of verbs, main and auxiliary verbs. First we are going to study about main verbs. So in how many parts is a main verb divided? A main verb is divided into two parts. One is transitive verb and another one is intransitive verbs. So if we study about a transitive verb is a verb which has an object in the sentence. So whenever there is an object in the sentence, that verb is known as transitive verb, and wherever there is no object in the sentence, those verbs are known as intransitive verbs. For example, Dilip likes mangoes. So what is the verb in the sentence? Likes. And what is the object in the sentence? Mangoes. Similarly, Lena sings a song. What is the verb here? Sings. And what is the object here? A song. So in these sentences we have an object. That is why these verbs are known as transitive verbs. Similarly, when we do not have any object, those verbs are known as intransitive verbs. Sentences: birds fly, fire burns. We do not want to know where are the birds flying, and we do not want to know that where what did the fire burn. So in these sentences, objects are not a necessary part. Alright, so these verbs are known as intransitive verbs. When we'll do the exercise, you will understand it better. Now, most verbs can be used as both transitive and as intransitive verbs. Like, he burned a hole in his coat. Fire burns. So this is very simple actually. This is very basic, that wherever there is an object in the sentence, that verb is known as the transitive verb. And it is not necessary that if a verb is used in if any verb is used as transitive verbs, it cannot be used as intransitive verbs. Verbs are very common. They can be used as transitive verbs also, and as intransitive verbs also, because a verb is transitive or intransitive not because of the verb, it is because of the presence of object. If there is object in the sentence, the verb is transitive. If there is no object in the sentence, the verb is not transitive. So basically it depends upon the object, not on the verb. So verbs are common. Verbs can be used as transitive or intransitive, transitively or intransitively. Next is auxiliary verbs. We have already read it, that auxiliary verbs are divided into two parts. Those are primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. So let us start. The verb be is, rm, was, were, has, have, had, do, did, does. When used with main verb to make tenses, passive forms, questions and negative sentences, are called auxiliary verbs. In the very simple language, in our day-to-day language that we use with each other, we call them helping verbs. These are the words through which any tense or the plural or singular form of the subject of the verb is actually clarified, right? So birds are flying right above the clouds. Here are is auxiliary verbs and flying is the main verb. They have finished their work. Have is the auxiliary verbs and their finish is the main verb. He does not learn his lessons. So here does is auxiliary verbs and learn is main verbs. There are many other sentences in which there is only auxiliary verbs, no any main verb is there. So because it is not necessary, if there is no main verb, you can use auxiliary verbs as the verb in the sentence. Now we have to talk about finite verbs and non-finite verbs. So finite verbs change their forms according to the number and the person of the subject and the tenses, as he or she goes, I or they go. So in this, if the subject is singular, the helping verb is always plural. And if the subject is plural, the helping verb is always singular. That is why with he and she here they have used goes, and with I and they have used go. Next is the non-finite verbs. Do not indicate person, number or tense. They include the infinite verb, the gerund and the principal. the participle. Hearing the noise, the child woke up. Here, hearing is participle. I saw the girls play hockey in the playground. Playing gerund. And I wish to go now. To go is infinitive. Similarly, next coming to the direct and indirect object. This is very simple to understand. In any sentence, the direct object is usually the name of the something, and the indirect object is denotes the person to whom something is given. So in this, alright, so in this the direct object is actually the name of the something, whatever thing we are talking about, and indirect object is the name of the person to whom it is given to. For example, Mr. Das teaches us social science. So what is the object here? What is the object here? Social science. And what is the verb? Teaches. But here and then social science, since it is a thing, then it is a indirect object, and here us that is the direct object, and here us is used for the person it is given to, so it is indirect object. Can you get me a job? Here job is direct object because it is the thing there, and me is the indirect object because it is given to me. Next is most transitive verbs take a single object, but some transitive verbs such as ask, give, offer, promise, tell, etc. take two objects after them as indirect and direct object. Next is forms of verb. Verbs can be irregular or regular. So regular verbs are in which there is a base form, then there is a past form, and then there is a past participle form. And irregular verbs are form their past and participle in a way different from adding ed. Alright, so type 1 is all three forms are the same. There are some verbs in which the base form, past form, and the participle form is all same. For example, cut, hit, cost, hit, put, split. Alright, so these are the words which has the base form, and the past tense and past participle are almost same. Second is two of the forms are same. Here the past tense and the base form and the past participle both are same, like become, became, become, bent, bent, went, bring, brought, brought, built, built, built. So these are some examples that you can read and learn, and because these are very useful for you in using them in your conversation. Type 3 is all three forms are different. There are many verbs in which all the three forms are actually different from each other, like began, begin, began, begun, choose, chose, chosen, do, did, done, fly, flew, flown. So these are some examples that you can actually read and learn. So with this, the explanation part of the chapter is over. Let us come on to the exercise. Okay, first question is, choose the correct option. A word that tells us about an action is called a verb. Sleep is a main verb. A verb which requires an object to complete its sense is called transitive verb. The past tense form of write is wrote. Next is tick the most suitable verb from brackets to complete each sentence. The library was dipped, plunked, or pitched into darkness when lights were switched off. So it is plunked. The wolves cried, howled, wept in the forest at night. So the wolves always howl. So it is howled. The aircraft dived, leaped, swooped down on the building. So it is swooped because the aircraft can't dive and can't be leaped. Next is birds darted, flitted past above in the trees above them. So it is flitted. Dusk dropped, toppled, and fell gently in the village. So it is fell. Next exercise is point out the transitive and intransitive verbs in the following sentences. Name the object of each transitive verb. So in these sentences, we have to find whether the sentence is intransitive or transitive, and we have already learned one thing, that if the sentence has an object, the verb in that sentence is transitive verb, and if we don't have any object in the sentence, that verb is not a transitive verb, it is an intransitive verb. So it's solely depends on the presence of object in the sentence. So in this question they have only asked about the object, but I have also underlined the verbs so that it is easy for you to understand what is the verb here. So the ship sank is the verb. Since there is no object, so it is an intransitive verb. He ran away quickly. Ran is the verb and there is no object, so it is intransitive verb. The man killed the rat. What is the verb here? Killed, and rat is the object, so it is transitive verb. She flies her kite. Verb is flies and kite is the object, therefore it is also transitive verb. I met a little village girl. Met is the verb, a little village girl is the object, so it is transitive verb. Next is point out the direct and indirect object in the following. We have already understood it in the chapter that whenever in a sentence an object, a thing, if there is anything that we're talking about, that is the direct object, and to the person to whom it has to be given, or it has to be connected with, that is the indirect object. Here the old woman left them all the property. So what is the thing here? Property, so it is the direct object. And to whom was it had to be given? To them, so that is the indirect object. I gave Akhil 100 rupee note. So what is the thing? 100 rupee note, or the note, and to whom it has to be given? Akhil. So Akhil is the indirect object, and rupee, 100 rupee note or a note, is the direct object. My brother sent me a wristwatch. So here wristwatch is the direct object and me is the indirect object. The bank sanctioned her a loan for a car. So here a car is the object and her is the indirect object. Can you keep a place for me? Me is the indirect object and a place is direct object. The principal gave our monitor a prize. So prize is the direct object and our monitor is the indirect object. Bring me that table. So table is the direct object and me is the indirect object. Next exercise is circle the verb in each of the sentences. A rattlesnake slithered across the path. So the verb is slithered. The teacher spoke to the new girl about her previous school. Spoke. The company promised us a bonus this year. Promised. Mukesh wrote a letter to his friend. Wrote. I like blue oceans and tall green grasses. So here there is actually no main verb, so here like will be used as the like is the verb here. Coming on to the next exercise, fill in the blanks with verbs from the box which has a similar meaning. The underlined verb in the following sentences. So in these sentences there are some underlined words. We have to write the synonym for these words. The room had everything that I wanted. So the room had everything that I desired. Wanted and desired has almost the same meaning. The father buys fruits from a shop in Gupta market. Father purchases fruits from a market in Gupta market. From a shop in Gupta market. I selected the best staff available. So I pointed the best staff available. Sunil frowned when he saw his bag lying on the floor. So Sunil scowled when he saw his bag lying on the floor. We admire the work Mrs. Sonia has done for the poor. So we appreciate the work that Mrs. Sonia has done for the poor. Next exercise is choose the verb from the box which has the meanings given below. Okay, so what do we call when we send some goods to another country? We call it export. Find out something existing but not yet known. Discover. Get better after an illness, accident or shock. Recover. Show regret for doing wrong. Apologize. Put something inside or into something else. Insert. Speak or say something in a very low voice. Whisper. Make someone happy, feel happy, interested or eager. Excite. And last one is correct something that is wrong, which is to rectify. Next is the learner's drill, in which Mary has to write some sentences about her last holidays. Can you help her? Use the prompts to write the sentences. Try to use all three forms of the verbs in the given sentences. So this is going to be your homework, and you have to try using these points that are given above in the picture. You have to use them to make your own sentences about Mary. So this is going to be your homework, and I hope you do it really well. So with this, the chapter is actually over, and I will see you all in my next video with the next chapter. Till then, I request you to please complete your work and start studying for the second term. I'll see you all in the next week. Thank you. Have a good day.